What's better than earning money from a 9-to-5 job? It's earning money while you sleep, which is made possible if you start investing. You're listening to the Real Estate Investing Demystified with your very own dynamic duo, Ava Benesocky and August Biniaz. Tune in as we discuss everything real estate, both on the passive and active sides. We feature life-changing stories of today's real estate leaders that will help build your own roadmap to success. This is a show that will lead you to a diversified portfolio, a much bigger revenue, and a next-level venture that brings you a smooth cash flow. Let's get this episode started. All right, so today we are joined by Brent Ritchie.
Yes, and I'm really excited about this show because Brent and I have connected for a while here. He is a fellow Canadian who was a busy professional here in Canada who made the switch into the US. I believe he's physically moved to the US, but we'll get into all of that. But he's very focused on US multifamily, building a real estate investment firm. Also, he was a professional, but he was involved. He was an engineer, so he was involved in construction and construction related things. But for him to make that switch seems very interesting, and it affirms kind of us leaving our careers to focus on US real estate, US multifamily. So really excited to have him on.
And another thing too, it's always fun when we can relate to the guest speakers that come on our show. And Brent, I know that you're from a small town, a small rural town, and I'm actually from a small town myself. So we're really excited to get into the conversation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Maybe go ahead and tell
everybody a little bit about Brent so they can know exactly who we're talking to today. A little bit about Brent, guys. Brent Ritchie is the founder and president of EnRitch Investment Group, Inc. Brent has over 15 years of experience in engineering, construction, and project management. His latest projects involve the ownership, management, operations, and development of apartment buildings worth over $240 million. As a professional engineer in Fortune 500 companies, his award-winning construction projects range from several hundred million to $3 billion internationally, and a major driver for operational excellence for all stakeholders. His design, construction, and operational experience is an invaluable asset in overseeing successful project execution. So welcome, Brent. Thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be on the show, and great connecting with you guys here on your platform.
Amazing. Brent, why don't we just start off? Can you talk to us about your background and then your start in real estate, please?
I guess we look at the journey, look at kind of where you've been, and you know, in my mind, you're kind of still grew up on a small farm outside of Park Hill. And it's funny when my family listens to this, they listen to these podcasts. And so, you know, I had the privilege and the honor just outside of about 2 hours outside of Toronto on a farm. And so grew up there and just had, I guess, different aspirations of what I wanted to do with my life. And that kind of took me into the city. And then ultimately doing structural engineering at Western. And then from there really was started my career seeing that heavy construction design phase. Every project everywhere from Kelowna, British Columbia, over the Okanagan, to India, to New York, to, you know, all over. And so that had me kind of on that design journey. And then really just, you know, you're working for somebody else, you're making decent money, right? But it's just not really creating much of a future. And so this little purple book that's kind of ruined a lot of people's mental thinking in a good way is really what, you know, I think put the additional fire in my journey to figure out a path getting from your 9-to-5, getting from your paychecks, you know, getting from your inner rat race into, you know, really a different life that's possible. And so that's what kind of started me on that journey, looking at different businesses, side hustles. And so for me, it was almost like, what do I want my life to look like? And what do I want it to be? And so that's really was like, okay, you know, I could buy a franchise, I could own a business, had a couple startups on the side, very challenging, like a lot of entrepreneurial guests and you know, inspiring entrepreneurs will know, taking a business from an idea to great profit is challenging. And that's where it was almost like went through that a little bit, and then was looking at, hey, what if I buy a franchise. And then it was like, no, I don't want to work something that's like 60, 70 hours a week, just buying a different job. And so it was like, okay, I want to do life from anywhere. I want to kind of operate a system that runs, and I'm not involved in the day to day. And so that's what kind of led me along this journey. Back in 2017, connected with another group based in Dallas, Texas. So here I am outside of Toronto, and then flying down, connecting with this other group, really learning kind of the ropes, and that had us on our first acquisition and really getting into the multifamily space. So I know we're going to dive into some of those topics. So I won't get too much further ahead, but that's really the journey and kind of the, maybe the why and yeah.
Incredible. Now, let us ask you a question, and this is more for just affirmation for us as our lives really revolves around US multifamily. But can you tell us why US multifamily, and then what was it about this asset class that really piqued your interest?
Yeah, no, great question. And because you guys are in the Vancouver area, right?
Yes.
Vancouver, okay, perfect. And then Toronto area, I think very similar.
Yeah.
So some of the fundamentals that we love to look at are business friendly and landlord friendly. So I think that kind of struck out some of the options locally. And then from there, it was almost, hey, you also want cash flow. You want cash flow on your operation. We like to focus on a deal that can stand on its own legs without us having to bring the NOI up. So unless, without us having to renovate and everything else in order to cash flow, we like to right off the bat, the deal can support itself. And then all that, our value add strategy that we're going to be doing and implementing is really in addition to, and it's bonus. And that's where, a lot of the returns are generated. But we very much business friendly, landlord friendly, and then a deal that can support itself. So with cash flow.
I absolutely love it. Yes, the US has one of the highest rental yields in the world. From the rents you collect, you can pay off all your expenses, your mortgage, your taxes, and still have enough third-party property manager, and still have enough surplus left over to have that beautiful cash flow that real estate investors look for. So yeah, I'm with you there, Brent. Incredible. Now I'm really excited to dive in kind of to the next topic here, and doing some research on you, we kind of realized at some point you joined a mentorship program and decided to invest in the US. Now, we want to focus on where the idea to look for a mentorship program came about, like where did that even come from? And then I believe you actually joined Brad Sumrock's mentorship program, which I believe you're in Vegas right now at one of his events. So please talk to us about this.
Yeah, importantly, where did the idea come about? Yeah. Because a lot of time, for example, myself, I had to, it was a difficult challenge for me as someone who had some success in construction, home building, multifamily development from the ground up. It was difficult to pursue a mentor because I felt like I knew it all. And the more I learn in life, the more I realize I don't know much, how little I know. But where did that idea come from for you to pursue a mentorship program, a mastermind program? Where did that idea even come from?
No, that's such a good point. And it's maybe just spinning off one of those comments too. It's like when we're 16, 17, 18, especially boys, you're kind of like, everything. And then you can start university or you start school or you start kind of education, you realize how much you don't know. And so, it was almost, one was really through a fantastic podcast, right? It's kind of like you guys have this wonderful show and users can connect and they can learn and you can learn from so many people that have been there before. And I was one of 4 kids, so I was the third, and I had the privilege of learning from my older 2 siblings. Mainly, you kind of learn what not to do, and so you don't repeat their same mistakes. And so that's been a lot of my kind of philosophy in life. I like to learn from other people's mistakes so I don't repeat them myself. And especially when you go into the larger multifamily space, you're closing deals from, a small one may be 10 million and you could be 120, 150, million or more. And so you very much, you want to be with the people that have done it before, that know the ropes, that know the pitfalls, that have the experts. And especially the bigger scale you get, then you have your experts in their respective fields that are all part of your team. And so very much I am not the smartest person in my team in every single area, right? I have my securities attorney that knows it way better than I do, right? And I would say you guys know the Canadian securities way better than I do. And so it's kind of having people on your team that you can have great synergies and collaborate together that really bring it all together. And so, you almost become a little bit more of a, I'd say, air traffic controller of, hey, here's what we want to do, our overarching business, our goal, our strategy. And now you bring the pieces of the puzzle together to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And now ask me, now tell me something about the mentorship program. Is it, I guess, a bunch of like-minded individuals are put in one room, which is really exciting concept because you can kind of bounce ideas off of each other. But also, it's said out there that joining a mentorship program, you could possibly find partners in business as well. People that, like you said, figure out what you're good at, and then, maybe you're not so good at asset management. Maybe am I right on that when it comes to joining a mentorship program?
100%, and you're going to have almost, if you could break down our business into three parts, you almost have somebody that's your investor side, your capital side. Maybe you got somebody that's more on your financial side, and then somebody on the operations side, right? So obviously there's a lot of categories, subcategories in there, but you could really look at it almost in those three things. And so each person kind of brings different strengths and characteristics in that. And so, really, you're learning from other people and trying to avoid those mistakes. But B, you're really having those synergies. People flying in from all over the world and even other countries, right? Canada or Switzerland or Dubai. And so, we really, it's pretty much a big think tank, kind of for in our space. And then we're always learning and things are constantly evolving and changing in the market. And so you're very much utilizing that strength and the synergies and, what other people have learned and bringing it all together and being part of that. So
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So now you join a mentorship program.
Yeah.
It's going great, but you're gonna still need three things. Okay, you're gonna need access to equity. You're
Yeah.
gonna need deals, and you're gonna need to execute. So talk to us, maybe making an emphasis on your first deal or first couple of deals. How did you go about finding the equity? How did you go about finding the deals? And how did you go about executing? For example, in our first deal that we did, we partnered with another group. It was a large $92 million deal. It was over a $30 million equity raise. So it was a team sport. We became a part of the GP as a co-GP, and we brought on, a portion of the equity. We were involved in asset management. So talk to us about how did you go about these three main things: finding equity, finding deals, and executing.
yeah, for sure. And it's almost like if you're starting off, when I started off, you got to think of what you can bring to the table, right? And so if your net worth, liquidity that you need for a loan, if it's, experience in asset management, or, it's going to be other roles, maybe your construction experience, or maybe it's like, hey, I don't have those specific categories, but I got like drive, determination, blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm going to make it happen come hell or high water, right? And so maybe that's where you're connecting with the brokers, you're underwriting deals, you're kind of going through a lot of opportunities to find the right ones that make sense, and then kind of bringing the team together and assembling the team, or maybe bringing somebody that's more experienced along together. And so that was really my position. I was doing engineering, and it was very much like, okay, I'm still working my job, 40, 50 hours. And then in the morning, and I got 3 kids, right? So busy time. So in the morning, from like an hour or 2 in the morning, and then maybe a little bit in the day, but mainly after the kids went to bed, that would be my time where I'm just like looking at deals, crunching, putting everything together. And so on the equity portion of that, so mine was like really the just going through and underwriting and betting a lot of deals to find the ones that really made sense, which has been just a home run of a deal back in Phoenix. We bought it. We can get into the specifics of that, but that one's been great. and then the equity was really kind of, being part of that ecosystem mentorship group was critical in finding investors, and then finding, all our systems and processes that we needed to go through those steps and take down the deal.
Amazing.
So,
Got it. And the first deal you closed, was it on a co-GP structure?
yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That brings us to one of our last questions.
One of our
before
last
we move-
questions. Yes. So we are curious, did you actually make the move to the US? Like, are you focused on connecting with US or Canadian investors? And maybe talk to us about the move.
No, great question. Yeah, I did. Moved to Florida. So in my background, this is Clearwater Beach, Pier 60. So we, like a lot of fellow Canadians, love Florida, and love to escape winter and get to some beautiful places.
Whereabouts in
Personally, I
Florida?
Whereabouts?
in the Tampa Bay area.
Tampa Bay,
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I personally love British Columbia, and Kelowna, right? Big White and all these amazing mountains. But aside from that, if you're going to do winter in Ontario, I'd rather be winter in Florida. So yes, did migrate the family down south. There's a lot more strategies and incentives and everything for syndicators living, doing active deals like we do, and doing, that in the US. So your question about equity, we did connect with several Canadians, but it was really went through the process with them, kind of setting up US entities in order for them to be able to invest in the US. So going through the whole like OSC, CSA, kind of this Canadian security side, that's something that I haven't ventured down myself personally. We've explored that, and then I know just the regulations, and I know you guys do a great deeper dive into that as well. So, but the regulations and the exemptions and those loopholes, for me, it was almost like I found my equity was a lot of it was in the US. So we were able to kind of connect with it there. And then for the Canadian investors that wanted to have more of a longer term strategy investing in the US, that's where we connected with them, the experts, to set that up and get that going. But it is, it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And,
It's not the Canadian regulatory space is not as black and white as it is in the US. I mean, in the US, they have two main category exemptions. They use the 506B, which is for non-accredited investors, and you got a certain limit of accredited investors, 35 accredited investors. But the 506C allows you to advertise, and it's seems very clear, very black and white. Whereas in Canada, you got multiple exemptions, and each of them are opaque in what there can be with advertisement, and then
everything is in a gray area. So you got to be
yeah.
very careful with how you go about doing things and everything else.
So there are some similarities, but no, we definitely feel the pain points you're talking about as far as trying to service Canadian investors. Another thing that we felt as well is kind of researching on other real estate private equity firms and their growth and their trajectory. We noticed that, yes, early on, they might have started out in Canada and they might have raised a lot of equity from Canadian retail investors. But at some point, they made the switch to US investors, and that's when they went hyperbolic. So that's something that we're contemplating here. Obviously, the structures we put into place, it took a lot of resources and time for us to put it together. So we want to keep those structures, but our focus is also going to be more focused on US investors. We're planning to make the move to the US as well.
Brent, we might be your neighbor at some point.
We're going to be in Tampa.
Hey,
we're going to be in Tampa in early July.
Yeah,
it's
actually.
probably too hot of the time of the year.
Oh, really?
But
yeah,
we're going to be there.
We'll grab your number offline and we'll make some plans.
I would definitely love to connect with you guys. I will be back in Ontario in July. Visiting family. We go end of June, but love to connect with you guys regardless.
Sure,
so.
Fantastic.
Sure. All right, awesome.
Okay, ready for the next segment of our show, the 10 championship rounds to financial freedom?
Woo, let's do it.
Okay, first
I feel
question,
like we need
Brent.
Rocky music or something.
Yeah, we should play some.
For sure.
All right, now first question: who is the most influential person in your life?
Oh my goodness. Most influential person in my life. I would have to say that's a tough one. There's been so many microcosms along the way. I will have to say, off the top of my head, right answer is my wife. But aside from her,
I'm like, he's in Vegas right now. If
probably
his wife is not in Vegas with him, he better say his wife.
that's right. That's right. I don't, Robert Kiyosaki, in a weird way, in my early kind of mindset shifting, was very instrumental in kind of getting things on or empowering that entrepreneurial mindset.
Okay, I like that.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Okay, Brent, what is the number one book you'd recommend?
Oh, you know what? I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss. The 4 Hour Work Week is a fantastic book. It's older, right? 2007, 8, something, but just a lot of the principles remain very true. And so I'm just a huge fan of Tim and his style, and he's hilarious and just a different guy. So
Awesome. All right, I got to read that book so bad.
I
A
know.
couple people mentioned it. My God. Okay, if you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
start earlier. The one thing I wish I did was start earlier, right? The best time to invest was 20 years ago. The second best, 5 years ago. The next best right now. And so very much start earlier.
Right on. All right. Now, what's the best investment you've ever made?
Best investment I ever made will be the first property that we bought in Phoenix. That one is just hitting the market right now for sale. And it's going to be a ridiculous return on investment for us as GPs, but more importantly for our investors. And so, yeah, it's it's been fantastic. We bought it 95-ish a door, and then it's BOV'd between 280 and 300 a door.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
Those tell us about the IRRs and put our 15 to 17% IRRs to shame. Give us an idea. What is the IRR look?
well, it's just going to be ridiculous, and I don't even want to set those expectations for any of our investors, right? So we're going to be probably over a 5x equity multiple in just over 3 years, and so yeah, it's going to be silly. So yeah, that one has been the best investment to date.
I would say so.
Yeah, the only thing about when you hit a jackpot like that, you got to tell your investors, hey, listen, this this is a
Don't
weird
be
thing to tell to
expecting-
your investors. Like, listen, we've done really well. Don't be expecting this on every deal. Like, you understand the projections were, much lower than this, but we've done a great job. So it's important for investors to understand that.
You
I'm
come
sure
out with
they
your
will.
next deal, I'm going to 2x your money, and they're like, what? I thought you were
Only
going to give me
2x?
5x again. What is this?
Yes, and you're like, hey, 2x is amazing. So
It is.
yeah.
It is.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
okay, what's the worst investment you've ever made, and what lessons did you learn from it?
The worst investment I ever made. Oh, that is a good question. I always see everything as a great learning opportunity and a learning curve. Um, so each one has its pros and its cons. Yeah, I guess there was it would be a minor investment, but there was a group that came to Toronto, a multifamily group, and I was like, hey, connecting with people locally. And that one just really didn't translate anywhere or go anywhere. And so it's just really, I guess, back to who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are the people? Are they good people? And once you find great people, just really doubling down in that space.
Yeah,
We've
life
all-
literally just
yeah.
starts happening when you surround yourself, like the energy that is in that. Yeah. 100%.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And everybody thinks, right? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so, and everybody else, when you put yourself in a room where now net worth is 30 million is average, then you just, you're like, okay, all right, this is what I gotta, everyone just thinks differently. And so, yeah, for sure. That's a huge element.
This is a small town, background coming out in both of us, because I always tell people that as well. So incredible. Awesome. Okay, now next question, Brent. How much would you need in the bank to retire today? What's your number?
Probably closer to 10. It used to be back in the day growing up, maybe it's $1 million, right? In inflation and cost of living and everything else. And that just really is not going to last long or transpire very well. So 10 is probably the number. And I caveat that with, when you do what you love, you're kind of retired already. And so, I love this. I love this space, and couldn't imagine doing anything else.
I would check your bank account when the deal closes in Arizona. The 10 might already be there. So.
All right, Brent, if you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, Winston Churchill comes to mind off the top of my head. It's just such an interesting fellow. Probably Winston Churchill, or maybe Tony Robbins would be the live one today.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Okay, if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing now?
The hunting. But no, when I was finishing high school, I was thinking I'm going to do either like whitewater rafting instructor, obscure, right? Or engineering. If I was not doing something like that, I'd probably be doing some extreme sports.
Cool.
Nice.
I like that.
Awesome.
All right. My favorite question, Brent, book smarts or street smarts?
Street smarts.
All right. Comes from a book smart guy.
Yeah.
Comes that
from and that's you're in the engineering, or you're in the university space, so much theory and everything, and it's like, theory is great, but if it's just in your head and it's never applied, it's kind of useless. Yeah.
Well said. Okay, last question, Brent. If you had $1 million cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
I would definitely start with my education. You are investing in yourself, and I think that's the greatest investment that you can make. Case in point, me being here in Las Vegas, part of a mastermind, which cost more than my entire 4 years of university combined. And so, investing in yourself would be a huge thing. Then probably investing in multifamily.
Right on.
Amazing. Love that, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Brent, we really appreciate you taking the time being here with us. Thanks for sharing us your journey with our viewers and our listeners. We look forward to meeting you. We look forward to seeing you grow in this space as a fellow Canadian. Really, again, like I mentioned it earlier in the show, it affirms our enthusiasm and our all the time, and all we've dedicated to the space, knowing that somebody else that came from same place we came and has excelled in this space, kind of affirms everything and puts us in a great place.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Brent, if you could just let everybody know, what's the best way that they can reach you?
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, hosting me. This has been just a delight. We got EnRitchInvestments.com, ENRITCH investments.com is our website, or Brent, BRENT, at EnRitchInvestments.com. So Brent at ENRITCH investments.com.
Perfect. Thank you again for being here, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope this conversation enlightened you on how to win big in this highly profitable and risk-averse space. Get on your feet and embrace this world that offers so many opportunities just waiting for you out there. Continue your journey to becoming a savvy real estate expert by subscribing to the show at cpicapital.ca. Don't forget to leave a positive rating and share with your friends. See you on the next one.